Start again. We're alive, folks. Sorry, guys. I've obviously not realised I've got my mic muted. Can I see we've got one in the chat? Could you say hello just so that I know that you can hear me all right? As we wait for Nicky Boy, as usual. So, see, we've got three, so I'm going to share out. So, how was everybody's Christmas and New Year? Hi, Eric. I'm just waiting for Nick to come on. You know Nick. So, how was everybody's New Year and Christmas? Was it all good? Happy New Year from myself and the team. Hey Tom, how you doing? So I want to wish everybody a happy New Year, whatever you are doing. So I'll just share this out. Hopefully by that time our Nicky Boy will be on. And we'll finally get this final part of Hurricane Mitch done. I'll talk about the devil, and here he shall come. I hope it's him. Oh, Jesus. Oh, I've kicked Nick again. Sorry, Nick.
Hello, is she there?
Bluetooth disconnected.
Can you hear
I can't tell
me?
if she's over here or not, but
Nick, can you hear me?
all right. Well, while I'm waiting on this, we see who's all come in. What's up, Tom? Good to see ya.
Hey, Nick.
Hello, Eric.
It's like he can't see me.
Oh, wait a minute. Not sure what's been going on before. Oh, there she is. All right, there you are.
I was like, can Nick not see me or hear me? And I've been talking to myself.
What's going on with the connection?
Nick, can you hear me?
Let's see.
I think I'm having some internet connection issue.
Oh God.
Hold on.
When Nick said that, then
wait a minute. Now it's working. Now I can see you.
Oh, now you can see me. I know it said damn alien cows again.
Well, it was working. Here, I'll be back.
Right. Okay, love. So it's me again, everybody. Hey Rita, how you doing? Can you guys hear me okay? You hear us both, thanks Tom. I don't know what's happening. The internet connections are terrible, or I think StreamYard's terrible at least. So yeah. So tonight we should be doing the final of Hurricane Mitch. All going well, and Nicholas's internet connection lets him. That's really what we should be doing. So was MD out investigating over Christmas and New Year? Yep, I'm glad that you can hear me. Thanks, guys. So we'll see what happens. We'll just go with it. You know us. We just plod on. And here he comes again. So I'm hoping. Hiya, stranger. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and all that. Hopefully we'll have Nicky Boy. Wayne's not well tonight, so get well soon, Wayne, for us all. Rosie's coming in later. So it's just me and my Todd just now until obviously Nick. So yeah, guys, this is our first show back. Tomorrow we will have Frighteners. We'll be talking about the recap of 23. Unfortunately, I couldn't do the shows in between Christmas and New Year due to a few issues, guys. So making up for it now, definitely. So how's that granddaughter of yours, Robbie? She'll be getting big and bad. Do you know, I'm not even paying attention to the sharing. So if everybody gets triple shares or double shares, please just reject them. So apart from that, guys, so yeah, Frighteners, a recap, say you've been out investigating. I've not been since November. I'm going back in February. Spent the last few months building tech instead. See, to be honest with you, Robbie, I don't do many investigations anymore. Because I'm in a lot of pain all the time. And I find that it doesn't matter how much I wrap up or that, I'm still feeling it. Don't get me wrong, I do miss the whole investigation. 6 months, holy shit. I think Ghost is messing with its next computer. I'm beginning to think so as well. 6 months, oh my god, no long till she'll be a year old. They never ever stay small, let me tell you. So yeah, so for the people that didn't watch Nick's last two lives, we did Hurricane Mitch, which was a disaster. It killed thousands of lives. And Nick, when he puts his presentations, I always find it really interesting. Nick's going for the fifth time. Like, fingers crossed, everybody, this is it.
Okay, is it better now?
We can't see you. It's a black screen.
Oh, jeez. All right. Here, I'm going to have to try going on my other computer, so bear with me for just a few minutes. I'm going to try my laptop.
No, that's fine. I'll keep them entertained.
Yeah, I'll be back in give me about 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, honey.
Okay.
How is my ghost? Not too bad, Anthony. Thanks. Happy New Year to you yourself. Blaming solar fibre messing with the computer. I know we've had a few technical issues, and I'm beginning to think it's actually StreamYard itself. Because some of even the technical issues that I had with StreamYard is just getting really, really mental. I know my eldest daughter's, her mum, Margaret, started this. Never feel old, Robbie. You only feel as young as the woman that you are. So Nick's been doing that. As for To the Grave and Back, we will be bringing a lot more crime stuff in to the chat, definitely. I'm going to be doing a lot of research on cases that are not so well known. The problem is when you're doing these sort of podcasts, you know, a lot of people cover the same things like Ted Bundy, Jeff Durham, John Wayne Gacy. So I'm trying to stir the show where it goes towards looking at maybe serial killers that not many people know, and obviously getting the up-to-date news as well. Obviously, my thoughts are with the people in Iowa tonight, because there was another school shooting. So my thoughts are with the families. Thankfully, my other half is 10 years younger. Hey, that's it, Robbie. Got a younger model. She'll keep you on your toes. So yeah, that's the sort of plans I want to bring in. Obviously, as I told you before, bring in disasters as well. Such disasters as Chernobyl, Titanic, and there's definitely a few others. Hey, Sarah Louise, I was just thinking about you the other day. Happy Year, honey. So yeah, so it's about obviously just doing that research. So I will be doing a lot of research this year. Good thing for Amazon Prime Kindle Unlimited. Got 1,000 books there. I can't add any more to my collection, guys. Honestly, I've got books galore coming out in my ears. I'm beginning to think I should open my own library. Love stories about the Titanic. So do I, Tom. So do I. And in fact, I seen one the other day, Tom, and it was talking about the Titanic, and it was talking about one of the theories. And one of the theories was that wasn't the actual Titanic that sank. The boat names were switched round, and obviously the real Titanic is still there, but obviously what's at the bottom of the ocean was Olympia. It was actually really, I quite like TikTok for that, the wee stories, and it's amazing the amount of times when I've been organising shows with the guys that I go onto TikTok, and the first thing I'm greeted with is a shit ton of stuff about that subject that I'd been talking about, because when we actually did a special, I can't remember if it was this show or it was Friday Frighteners, but we did cover the Titanic, and for a whole week solid, all I seen on TikTok was Titanic stuff. It didn't matter how much I actually scrolled through it. That's all I seen was Titanic. And funny enough, when me and Wayne were discussing today Tesla, that's all that stuff that came up on TikTok as well, was Tesla stuff. So it's quite ironic when you hear, like, when you talk about doing stuff, that obviously it starts coming up on TikTok. Yes, all those events do give off great waves of energy that can change era. So true. Until we do the same thing UK did with guns, unfortunately school shootings are going to keep on happening. That's the problem, Eric, is that if you guys maybe got the gun controls under laws, but it's one of the things, Eric, it's your hair still goes out. Hiya, Nicola. How you doing, love? Happy New Year. Hope you've been well. So yeah, so there will be a lot of subjects coming up, and remember, guys, if there's a subject that obviously that you want to see or you want us to cover, please feel free to reach out to myself, Nick, Wayne, Mark, or whoever. Talking about Tesla and one of their oh wow, OE, I didn't hear about that one, Anthony. I need to look that one up. It was just quite ironic that me and Wayne were talking about Tesla, and then the next thing it came up on my TikTok. And funny enough, I actually seen something about Tesla the other day on YouTube. So we will be covering Tesla. In fact, that would be an idea for a show next week. We could do Tesla. But definitely, guys, as I said, if there's anything that you want to see, I'm more than happy to do show-wise, even serial killers, cases, cold cases, anything at all. I'm glad, Nicola, I'm glad. So yeah, so Nick should be back. I feel so sorry for him, he always has internet issues. Oops. Oh wee. But yeah, so I've got a few subjects. Yep. So I've got a few subjects in mind. There is a few of the cases I said I would never cover that I'm actually considering covering now, but obviously it's how do you do these subjects? Because as everybody knows right now, YouTube is doing a lot of coming down heavy on people. One of the things that got flagged up was when we were talking about obviously the death penalty. Which is quite ironic because it's as part of the crime system. AI is listening to us and talking among themselves. I wouldn't be surprised, Anthony, in the slightest, because as I said, it's not the first occasion. Are you guys ever had where you might look up something in Google and the next thing you find it all over Facebook? It's quite mental that way. Wonder if there are anybody doing investigations over the Titanic. Do you know, Tom, that would be a really interesting investigation. And that is one that I've often wondered. Does MD actually investigate there? Okay, fair enough. You're in big, wide ocean. But it would be really interesting, like, to put that to the test, to how EVPs would sound coming from under the sea. That's actually quite a good shout, Tom, to be fair. And obviously it would be really interesting to see what the results definitely would be from that. I think when we're investigating, it's about finding different ways and the strangest ways that you can get EVPs. but definitely, you've got me thinking now, Tom. I always like when somebody gets me thinking about something. Personally, I wouldn't want to investigate out there because I'm terrified of deep water. Absolutely petrified of deep water. I wouldn't be for me, but I would love to see somebody that's got some balls to go out and do it. I mean, I watch, like obviously, when people they'll show you the most dangerous jobs, and it's always oil rigs, and I'm pretty much like, oh my god, I, I say fair play to anybody that works in oil rigs, because I couldn't personally do that job out at sea. They've done investigations in the Titanic Museum. Oh, is it on YouTube, Eric? Because it'd be interesting to see that investigation. So what's everybody's plans this year for investigations? Are you investigating anything exciting? As I've always said, my top one to do that I've always wanted to do is the Waverley Hill Sanatorium. I've always been, because I've always wanted to see what it's really like in a hospital, mental hospital. So Nick's having some issues just now. Hey Joanne, how you doing? I hope you're well, love. Happy New Year, honey. So yeah, just wondered why we have not just put bubble over items sunk into the ocean plump water out here that we look at. It's actually quite a good thinking. Just wondering why we have not just put bubble over items sunk into the ocean. Personally, I'd be terrified. I don't think it's on YouTube. It's on Ghost Hunters. I'll need to watch it, Eric. Hey Kelly, how you doing, love? Welcome to the show and happy New Year. If you guys have got time, check out Dark Phoenix Paranormal with Kelly and Michaela. I had these two ladies on last year, and fair play to them. So they're worth checking out, guys. And also the Paradox Club as well. Checking out the Paradox Club, and that's with Sharon Ames and Steve Mulligan, who always pops into the chat. They're really good as well. They do have something at least every night. But yeah, so that's where we're at. Not bad. 18 minutes on my thought. Oh, fingers crossed for the 10th millionth time. Nikki.
I know I'm not on camera, but how's that?
That's good.
Okay. All righty. I'm starting to go crazy at this point.
It's all right. I've been talking nonsense for 18 minutes, so it's absolutely fine. In fact, Tom had me thinking at his comment, because Tom said about, but now to scroll down a bit. Wonder if there are anyone doing investigations over the Titanic sinking spot.
Oh, there we go. Now I got the camera working.
Oh, hello! It's yourself.
Yeah, sorry again. I've been kind of all over the place lately. Okay, I guess the background's not going to be able to work this time. Oh wait, no. All right, there we go. That's what I was trying to get. It wasn't just the connection I was having issues with. As soon as I was about to head, come on here, I realized the file that I was my Hurricane Mitch file, it was not on the laptop. So I had to go back upstairs, grab the flash drive, and then copy it, which, it's a pretty big file. So it took a few more minutes than I expected. And unfortunately, that's why it took longer than I originally said, 2 to 3. When I said like 2 or 3 minutes, I had to wait like another 5 minutes for this damn thing to be copied before I could bring it downstairs to the laptop.
Yeah, no, listen, don't worry about it. It's absolutely fine. Oh, sorry. We're
No, I
all.
just wanted to say hi to Kate. Great to see her, Kate.
Hey Kate, how you doing? Sarah Louise says the Byford Dolphin rig accident was a brutal accident. 5 men killed when a pressure chamber was open. Oh wow, Narapod. I definitely know a job I could do, Louise. Nick and I are talking about visit. Oh wowie! I wish that I was joining that one. You and
What's
Tom
up? Oh,
about
yeah.
visiting serial killer at Ed Gein's home and gravesite in Wisconsin.
Turn out
Oh
it's not that far from
wowie!
me. Thanks, Sarah. Happy New Year.
Oh, so tell me about that, Nick. So that's no far from you.
Yeah, Plainfield is, I believe, at least an hour. Tom, how far is Tom would probably know. Remind me, Tom, how far is Plainfield from here?
I've actually really reading an interesting book just now, and it talks about the who's, the whys, the wheres, and the whens, about obviously serial killing, and it gave me food for thought for the show. Obviously, you've covered a lot, more going in the direction of really serial killers that no many people know about. 2.5 hours, that's actually not too bad.
Yeah. Okay, so
Um,
2.5 hours. Sorry, I'm still getting the file ready, so I'm not
no,
able to see
no,
while I'm doing this.
you're absolutely fine, honey. I'll, you know me, I'll just talk a load of nonsense. So I'm looking forward to, but you guys will be looking forward to going to the Ed Gein scene.
It will be interesting. You know, Tom and I were actually talking on the phone about it last night. And my first question was when he brought it up, I was like thinking, is Ed Gein's former house even a thing anymore? Because, there's just nothing there. I mean, if anything, there's probably a foundation, but other than that, everything's gone because it was burned down.
I was going to say that. I'm sure his house got burnt down.
Yeah, well, it was. So there's a gate. I guess there's a gate that kind of like surrounds that area, like to prevent it from really becoming like a tourist attraction. So the closest we're going to be able to get to is really not necessarily the property itself, but at the very least, get up to the gate and maybe do some type of brief investigation course. We probably won't be able to do it for long because we don't want to be there for too long and make it look like we're trespassing. So we'd only just be there for a few minutes, maybe just do a quick, ghost box session, then head right out. Because again, I don't want us to get us in trouble thinking that we're trespassing in that area.
I mean, that's the problem that you've got. I mean, many of these serial killers, their houses end up getting demolished. And I know this might sound macabre, but I would love to own one, at least because I've got the aspect of paranormal investigating to see what sort of results that you would get from like living there. But definitely it'll be a good one.
Well, also too, it's not every day when you have the opportunity, and I'm not saying it's awesome or exciting. I'm not saying that at all, but it's not every day when you get to have the opportunity to investigate basically the area of even though he wasn't necessarily a serial killer, because he was really only ever said to have murdered 2 people, the fact that his crimes were so heinous, it's not every day you get to investigate a spot where somebody committed some very brutal crimes.
And I mean, a lot of the the misconceptions of serial killing. I think when people think of serial killers, they automatically think of people that kill more than 3 people. But when you actually look at it in hindsight, it doesn't necessarily look at Ed Gein, prime example. Ed Gein only really, as you said, killed 2 people. But because his crimes were so bad, they've rated him a serial killer.
Yeah.
Same as Charles Manson. I always argue the point with Charles Manson. People say he's a serial killer, but in essence, really, he isn't.
Yeah, he never actually committed the murders, but he was he was the one who instigated it. He was the brains behind it all.
Hey, Holly. So it's good when you actually split it down and you look at the compartments. And I mean, the book that I'm reading, you know, some of the things that I was actually reading, I was saying to myself, I've never actually ever thought of that. Like, some of the misconceptions, what else we're talking about is that all serial killers are male. Well, no, really, when you weigh up the balances in this book, I found a couple of women that I'd never ever heard of that's done serial killing, and there was one story that stuck out to me that I read today, and it was a lady who killed all her family, and it wasn't until she got to her fifth husband that the police got involved.
Yeah.
And it just shows you, like, behind somebody who's smiley and happy, there's no always hilarity. It's not always what you see.
It's definitely not. And, you know, that actually brings up one particular killer that we're going to have to talk about on the show at some point. In fact, there's one guy, obviously, who seems to know about this stuff more than anyone else. He would actually be great to have for two of these notorious serial killers. The one that he talks about so much is his name is Tim Kohler. He has such knowledge on Vlad the Impaler, but he's also very familiar with the story of, and this is one of the female serial killers, is Elizabeth Bathory, the Blood Countess from Hungary.
Yep.
So he has so much knowledge of it. So if we decide that we're going to do episodes on those two killers in particular, even Jeremy would say, if he's watching, he would say, you talk about Vlad or Elizabeth, that is literally like a requirement to have Tim on. That's
well, if you can work your magic, we could do like we could do an episode where we're talking about both if you want to invite Tim on.
Yeah, I honestly think it would be great. I mean, he could talk to you about these particular individuals for hours on hand if he wanted to. He knows so much. He knows so much about it. I mean, I was first time I've heard him speak about it, I was blown away.
Oh, do you know, I've really started to use my Kindle more, and that's what I was just saying to everybody, because obviously, like in my house, like I've got hundreds of books, and for somebody that obviously speaks about serial killers, believe it or not, I've got more on my tablet than I have my bookshelf.
Wow.
For somebody who's into serial killers, you know. But I really want to get into the nitty gritty of the stuff. How about Sweeney Todd? Sweeney Todd's a good one. Ed Gein was the inspiration.
Yep.
Ed Gein was inspiration. There's actually there's a group that I'm in because I go in and out the idea of writing a book. And I was in the group the other night and I just happened to look at this guy's comment, and he's actually putting together a story, and it wasn't until he actually read it again that he realised that some of them was connected to Ed Gein, but he wasn't even thinking of Ed Gein, but he was writing, and what he was writing, he was like, this has correspond, and it just shows you, like, as Tom's comment, how Ed Gein can be the inspiration of some of the best films that we could ever see.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I love... Oh, that's what I had to tell you, Nick. I know it's so boom out the blue. It's because Tom's mentioned Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, everybody knows I'm geeky and I'm a gamer, right? Guess what they've brought out for the PlayStation? Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the game.
Right?
I seen it the other day when I was on looking for like video games for my boy, and I was like, oh my god, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I was like, I want that game. I love my kid. So do I, Annette. Do you know what?
Now I'm gonna have to see if that's like on Steam so I can purchase it.
And it's because it has see the first ever one that they made, the 1979 one,
74.
74, sorry, I knew it was 4 or 9. Well, see the old grandpa that's up the stairs and they wheel him down to the dinner table? Well, he's one of the characters in the game. And I was like really impressed with it. I know we went for like talking about you year to Ed Gein to new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's okay, I'll stay with Skyrim and Fallout. Fallout London is coming April 23rd, and I can't wait to see this series. Oh my god, I'm bouncing for it.
I just looked up because since I had my Steam account already open, I decided to search it. And oh, hi there, Phantom Seekers.
Hey, Eileen.
So I just looked it up. Guess what? They got the game on Steam. I'm gonna wait until I can purchase it because it's actually pretty expensive on Steam. I should have got it, but it's still the holiday sale. I know the holiday sale just ended, but it's about it's about $40. So I'm gonna have to wait until another holiday sale arrives, and then I'll get it done.
Well, see if I don't see you on Thursday night. I know you're gaming, playing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
You know, Jeremy and I have been talking about a few others. We actually are considering about maybe starting like a gaming show, like where we play like a video game or something like that. Jeremy's been kind of testing that out. So we haven't made it official yet, but we're still trying things out. But probably eventually might have a game show soon.
Well, see if you guys are having that sort of thing. I wouldn't mind joining in one night and talking about Fallout because I absolutely love Fallout. And I never ever thought Fallout would be my type of game. But when I look at the likes of Ark, 7 Days to Die, I've no got
God, I love that game. So does Donald. He and I played that game like till 3 o'clock in the morning one night. Hey, Sam's here. Good to see you.
Hey Sam. Is that 7 Days to Die?
7 Days to Die, yeah. Donald was actually the one who taught me that.
Actually, do you know there's 2 games that I've tried playing, and I don't know if it's the attention span. Maybe I've not got the attention span for it. But 7 Days to Die and Ark. But do you know I really need to get down with you as kids. Eileen, I don't know how the fuck we got onto this game. Talking about games, it was probably me and my mouth again. So yeah, but I love Neeb's gaming. I love Neeb's gaming, playing 7 Days to Die in Ark because it make it so funny. It's so how are you all this year? Not bad, Thomas.
Doing pretty good. Sam,
yeah. So anyway, Nicky Kanui.
Yeah, so I got, you know what, honestly, even though we kind of went off subject, that actually saved me some time for this damn thing to get loaded because it was starting to frustrate the hell out of me. So I got it pretty much all ready to go. So, well, considering how we used a half hour, I'm still hoping we can make this the last part. I'm really hoping so. But so from this point on for the slideshow, we are still going to be watching a couple more videos, kind of like some of the news brought, but now this is where things are going to start becoming a lot more shorter, and we're going to actually view like actual footage of the storm and the impact it had. So it's going to be, I just want to say once again, might get a little bit things are going to be a little bit graphic, you know, with some of these videos, but I'll give that notification once.
Eileen's asking how your baby's doing.
Madeline, she's doing great. I just saw her yesterday. She's moving. She's been moving pretty. I mean, I saw her basically with like, you know, with her limbs going all about. And I just thought to myself, she's probably going to be an athlete when she gets older. So she's doing great though. She's growing. So she's She's a smart one. She really is, and she's been making a lot of noise too. So that tells me, that kind of told the rest of us that I think she pretty much loves to talk. It's like she already knows what she's saying. She just doesn't know how to say the words yet.
She's been here before.
Sorry, I'm just reading. Thank you, Sam. What was that, Lois?
She's been here before.
I don't know. I saw her yesterday at their house, so but like I said, she's doing great though. So she's she's one of a kind. I gotta say that.
I can imagine. Right, I'll shut up now because I've took up enough of the time.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So, like I said, we picked up. This was after when we did the when we watched the last video. I think I might have did one of these slideshows previously, but oh, wait a minute. Wait, hang on. Oh, wait, no, this is right. This is right. That's my mistake. I thought first it was black for some reason, but now I got it. So let's try this again.
I've got all my legs crossed and my fingers crossed for you.
Okay, so I think this is where if I'm rereading one of these before, it's fine because it's been a number of weeks. I think this was when we were going to get to like when Hurricane Mitch first made landfall in the countries preceding Central America. So can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is where we were last time. So without further ado, hopefully we can finally finish this off. So this was when it made its first landfall on the south coast of Cuba. The hurricane caused waves of up to 13 feet high and wind gusts peaking at 42 miles per hour, causing numerous tourists and workers on the Isle of Youth and Cayo Largo Day. In Jamaica, where officials declared hurricane warnings 12 hours prior to its closest approach, Mitch caused moderate rainfall and gusty winds for days. Strong winds hit western Jamaica, with wave heights unofficially estimated at nearly 7 feet in height. The rainfall in outer bands, at times severe, flooded many roads across the island and left them covered with debris. One house in Spanish Town collapsed from the flooding, leaving 4 homeless. Many other homes and buildings were flooded, forcing many to evacuate. Unfortunately, when Hurricane Mitch hit Jamaica, this is also where it claimed its first set of lives, sadly, because we'll get to that in just a second. A river in northeastern Jamaica overflowed its banks, while heavy rainfall across the mountainous parts of the country caused numerous mudslides. In all, Mitch killed 3 people in Jamaica. On the Cayman Islands, the hurricane caused strong waves, gusty winds, and heavy rainfall at times. Damage was relatively minimal, amounting to blown out windows and beach erosion. Strong waves damaged or destroyed many docks on the south shore of the islands and also sank one dive ship near Grand Cayman. In addition, numerous incoming and outgoing flights were canceled. So this was up, like I said, this was when it made its first landfall. And obviously, as you just saw, it already claimed its first 3 lives. But this next part of this presentation is probably one of the most infamous stories involving Hurricane Mitch. What that story is that Mitch was also responsible for the loss with all hands of Windjammer Barefoot Cruises schooner Fantome. The story was recorded in the book The Ship in the Storm by Jim Carrier. October 24th, the Fantome, a 70-year-old sailboat owned by Miami-based Windjammer Barefoot Cruises, sets off from the small part of Omaha, Honduras, for a planned 6-day cruise in the Caribbean Sea. On board are 97 passengers and 41 crew, most of them West Indians, with 32-year-old Captain Guyan March at the helm. Captain March is Windjammer's golden boy, the youngest captain in its fleet of 8 sailboats. And what's fascinating about, quick little history lesson for the Fantome. The Fantome was really one of the last boats built in the great age of sail, and it was patterned after the great schooners. It was as long as a football field, 300 feet. It had 4 masts, each of them about
Oh,
12
wow.
stories high. It actually was not a good sailing machine, but it was a grand boat and was used in the Caribbean.
Hey, Robert.
Oh, okay. But yeah,
Robert's just sobered up.
oh, okay. But it was a grand boat and was used in the Caribbean for many years, and people loved to sail on it. Several Americans are scheduled to sail on the vessel, as many are looking forward to a week-long vacation at sea. Many of them weren't really nervous about hurricane season because it was towards the end of the season, and their understanding was that there wouldn't typically be a hurricane that late of that magnitude. Additionally, the area they were going to wasn't a real common area for hurricanes to hit. Hurricane Mitch, then over 1,000 miles away in the Caribbean Sea, was expected to pose a risk to Jamaica and possibly the Yucatan Peninsula. As the passengers are ferried out to the Phantom, the small boats battled choppy seas and pouring rain. Many people on the launch weren't really jovial and happy, like, oh, we're going on this trip. Most of them knew that this was not good. The water was starting to get rough and the sky was really dark and it was pouring down rain in buckets. Captain March assures the arrivals that while it's a concern, Hurricane Mitch is far enough away and decided to play it safe. The cruise will proceed. First stop, the beautiful Bay Islands off of Honduras's east coast, and wait for the storm to pass. Most people went to bed early that night, knowing that the next day they would be in the Bay Islands. But as March continues to follow the weather reports, by dawn, the captain learns that instead of tracking north, as forecasters predicted, Mitch dips southwest instead, due to a ridge that was not observed while the storm was active, and is heading straight for their destination. In the middle of the night, as the passengers try to sleep, the captain is forced to change course. He immediately decides to take the Phantom to Belize City. I mean, and here's the thing, it was the only place he could go. His back was against the wall. The storm was coming from the east. He had no shelters and no harbors that he could hide in. He did not want to, possibly because of public relations and marketing purposes, put people back in the boats in the rain into Honduras and call off their trip. Instead, he went and said he chartered a plane in Belize to go up there and take them and then see what they can do. So as a result, they evacuate the 97 passengers and non-essential crew. So Captain Guyan then gathered everybody together to talk to them that morning about what was going to happen. Most passengers remembered him being in a pensive kind of mood, not being his happy self and wasn't joking around, being very serious. The crew explained to the passengers that they were sending the launches from Belize City to pick them up, and they were to get off in a timely manner. There was only so much time to get off, of course. So here's the thing. Right after they got everyone off, I mean, as soon as they arrived, they got the passengers off. They had all these tearful goodbyes. All of the women got off, some of the crew. They chartered a plane and flew to Miami, Florida. As for Captain Guyan March, then he turns around, and literally what was standing before him was this huge black horizon. This was Hurricane Mitch coming for him.
Yeah.
So as Mitch churns toward Belize, Captain March weighs his increasingly limited options. And what's crazy, and if you look at some of these, you can clearly see the look on Captain March's face by some of the photos passengers took. I know it's a little bit hard to see on this side, but if you can look closely, you can tell he was out of options. He had crew members that were glad to be going. He had, passengers and crew members that were splitting up with their boyfriends and their brothers. He didn't know what he could do. The storm was coming so fast. So after consulting with the main office in Miami by satellite phone, a tough decision is made to take the Phantom back out to sea. There's this kind of crazy standardized rule in sailing that if a hurricane is on its way, you go to sea. You don't stay in.
Uh-huh.
And the idea is that you could actually find a spot where maybe the winds are pushing you away from the storm, or some airflow where it could again make these boats go away from the storm in some way, shape, or form. The schooner then departed Belize City, first heading north towards the Gulf of Mexico in order to outrun the storm. Storm predictions proved extremely difficult as the steering currents in Hurricane Mitch were very weak. When word reached Fantome that Mitch would most likely hit the Yucatan before she could get out of harm's way, March changed course for the south. The schooner sails back to the Bay Islands toward the hurricane. So the captain's plan is to sail to make for the lee side of the islands of Roations Harbor to give them some shelter from the monster storm. I mean, they thought they'd be able to move downwards, the downward side of this island, as they did in the Eastern Caribbean every season, where basically it's a little bit hard to describe, but where they could sail back and forth between where the island was and where this hurricane was, if you will. But in case Mitch made landfall in the Yucatan or Belize, by being on the southern end of the side of the island, it would provide her with enough protection to hopefully keep it from getting damaged by large swells and high winds. However, Mitch, now a Category 5 hurricane with winds up to 180 miles per hour, took a jog to the south, directly towards I cannot say that one for some reason, even though it's a pretty easy word. But unfortunately, it was too early to know that Captain March was heading directly into the storm's path. They felt that they could get on the backside, the lee side, the downwind side of this island, and sail back and forth. Yeah, just like I said, as they did in the Eastern Caribbean every season, sail back and forth. And the island would blunt both waves and winds of the hurricane that was at that point forecast to be to the north of them.
Uh-huh. I'm just going to read some of the comments.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Sam says, "World is tripping, man. Need to stop trying playing the big guy. That's how evil became to be."
Yeah.
Eileen says, "Don't like boats in open water. Robbie Crossan told me I went down on a liner in a former life. It explains my fears. Bay of Biscay is scary at times. Lots of thunder and lightning and high winds." Well, did you see that news article that I sent you? It was off the Antarctica, the 93-foot wave, the 90 feet waves. And the ocean bed is one scary place.
It really is. It can be. I mean, it's just when you're out on that ocean or open water, you know that you're basically, even if it's meant to be for a vacation, you always have to remember that the ocean is a dangerous place. So many people's lives have been lost at sea.
Oh God, yeah. Oh God. Definitely. That's why people who work out at sea offer play to you, because personally I couldn't. Sea is very, very powerful without a shadow of doubt. Without a shadow of doubt, Eileen, it is.
Yeah, it really is. I couldn't agree with her more on that. So let's see where we are now with this. So while offshore northern Honduras, Hurricane Mitch, near peak intensity, passed over Guanajuato Island. High waves eroded northern coastlines and damaged lagoons. Most of the Bay Islands had damage to their water facilities. 2 days of winds exceeding 125 miles per hour destroyed nearly all of the plants and trees on Guanajuato, uprooting and knocking down almost the entire mangrove forest. As you can see from this one photo, it is estimated that the hurricane produced waves of 44 feet in heights. Due to the threat, the government of Honduras evacuated some of the 45,000 residents on the Bay Islands and prepared all air and naval resources. Oh, That's weird. I guess I forgot to add. I guess the animation got. Oh, wait, you know what? Hang on. Let me fix that real quick. I don't know how that
No
happened.
problem. Sarah Louise says, remind me of the Andrea Gale.
That is bizarre. How did that happen?
Oh, don't you worry. You're doing well, Nikki. Doing well, Nikki Canoe.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, it just shows you how powerful hurricanes can be. And I mean, I've watched some videos on YouTube where I'm thinking to myself, holy God, the winds and the speed and just the amount of damage. You just have to look at New Orleans when that hurricane hit New Orleans, and you could see from like a helicopter's point of view how deep it was. Caribbean is so unpredictable. It so is, Irene. It really, really is. And I feel sorry when the tsunamis come in because obviously it reaches these wee small islands.
Okay, I think I got the issue. Well, I wasn't able to get the issue fixed, but I was able to get the full slide on. So I should be able to carry on with the slideshow. So I'm just going to have to do it this way because apparently it's a. I hate how Word sometimes acts where you can only open it as a read only file and you can't edit.
Yeah.
It. It's so annoying. So I'm just going to have to just keep it the way it is. So on October 26th, the Honduran Permanent Contingency Commission coordinated with neighboring countries regarding the storm. Officials initially issued a state of emergency for the offshore islands in 5 coastal departments, which was later extended to the rest of the country. The government increased emergency spending and creating a national emergency commission. Officials advised residents to evacuate in flood-prone areas, although many people stayed for fear of being looted. Some left to stay with relatives during the hurricane. Prisoners in Tegucigalpa's Central Penitentiary were evacuated to the National Stadium. Before the storm struck, Honduras was facing decreased food supplies due to ongoing El Nino conditions. The economy had been growing at a rate similar to the previous year until Mitch struck and was largely dependent on exports. About 73% of the population was living in poverty when the storm struck. Hurricane Mitch set back the economies of various countries in the region, including Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala, and El Salvador, after they had improved throughout the 1990s. While Mitch was at peak intensity, the NHC noted that it was not yet clear which country or countries in the Northwest Caribbean are most threatened. By that time, the hurricane was just north of the coast of Honduras and was expected by the National Hurricane Center and various tropical cyclone forecast models to turn to the north. Later that day, the Navy Operational Global Atmospheric Prediction System, or NOGAPS, had forecast the hurricane to continue to the west and strike Belize, while the Geophysical Fluid Dynamics Laboratory, GFDL, computer model anticipated a general movement to the north in the Western Caribbean. When the track was more westward than expected, the NHC recommended early on October 26 for a hurricane warning to be issued for the northeastern Honduran coast, although difficulties in communications prevented their immediate implementation. Within a few hours, when Mitch still failed to turn to the north, the government of Honduras issued a hurricane warning for the remainder of their coastline between Lima to the Honduras and Nicaragua border, including the offshore Swan Island, an island chain located 90 miles off the coast of Honduras. Guatemala issued a purple alert, recommending boats to stay in port, telling people to prepare or seek shelter, and warning of potential overflowing rivers. The government of Belize issued a purple alert as well and asked for citizens on offshore islands to leave for the mainland. Because the hurricane threatened to strike near Belize City as a Category 4 hurricane, much of the city was evacuated in fear of a repeat of Hurricane Haiti 37 years earlier. By the time Hurricane Mitch made landfall, numerous people were evacuated along the Western Caribbean coastline, including 100,000 in Honduras, 10,000 in Guatemala, and 20,000 in the Mexican state of Quintana Roo. Okay, so
Oh,
this
wow.
right, so this right here again, like I said, we're gonna have videos. This is when signs of the hurricane was starting to actually hit the coastline. I believe the first clip they have here was in Mexico. I actually, when I found these clips, I actually edited these clips to. You'll see immediately. You'll see the date, and then you'll see exactly where this is taking place. And this is about. Let's see, how long is this? It's about a 4-minute video. Hopefully, you guys can hear it. Oh, this is Honduras. Okay. You can already see there's flooding involved.
Oh, God, die.
And even though a lot of people evacuated, there were many others who stayed. You can clearly tell.
Oh, God, die.
Oh, this is some of the temporary shelters. Look at that. The water is already rising even more. That's the
Oh, God,
signs
die.
of the storm surge. Okay, that was the first one. This next one, I believe, was in Mexico. Yep.
You can see it coming.
Yeah. Winds are picking up.
You know what I love? Just how people just going along like it's nothing. They just walk along.
Yeah, unfortunately, even though they were given the warnings, not everyone really sometimes takes them seriously, unfortunately. And although most of these clips are in Spanish, this guy who's speaking is actually in English. I guess he's helping out with the shelters.
People coming in from other cities, they were as soon as they walked off the plane, they heard about a hurricane, they turned around, walked back on the plane. They didn't even go through customs, where leaving flights that were empty, overbooked. So it's been, for the last 2 days, very, very.
These are all evacuees right here. So everyone here is evacuating.
Oh my God.
Look at
Look
that.
at the crowd.
They're all trying to get out of there before the hurricane hits. I wish they could add subtitles so we can understand what they're saying. Seems like people up in Mexico were more serious about this than the rest of Central America. Gathering all this food. I mean, just grabbing whatever they can before they head out.
Well, just look at Irene's picture. Irene in Japan, when she showed you the empty shelves.
That's right. I mean, it's, everything's going by so quick. It's no wonder why they're grabbing whatever they can. And they're doing it the right way at the very least. They're not looting it. They're actually buying it before they head out.
Oh, God, yeah. Irene had a friend who was airlifted from an island in the Bay of Mexico because of the storm. Second day into her honeymoon, she was winced up in a harness.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been some honeymoon.
Oh, I can't imagine. So we'll be seeing more videos like that later. But that was when the first signs of Mitch was starting to arrive on the coast. I believe, okay, I guess I can't get this video to work, so we'll just have to move forward then. So, meanwhile, Mitch's approach is felt on land as well as out on the open waters. Now, this actually, what I'm about to bring up, this actually was from a documentary, and I love this story so much, I decided to include this in the presentation. But Americans Tana and Riley Wooten are living in the Honduran capital of Tegucigalpa and working with the local fire department. They feel officials here are not anxious about Mitch's track. As Mitch approaches, Tana and Riley go door to door in the pouring rain, trying to convince the locals to evacuate the precarious dwellings, many perched on unstable hillsides. They said in an interview, when the rain came, it was just like it was unlike a normal rainstorm like we're all familiar with. They said it was like getting in the shower, turning your shower on, and that's how the rain was. I mean, it just came down. The rain came. It just saturated the entire area. I mean, these were like some of the biggest raindrops they ever saw. And to make matters worse, when they were trying to convince the locals to evacuate, unfortunately their warnings are mostly ignored. In which some areas near the river where they had their shacks, and they told them that they needed to get out while they could, otherwise the water was going to get them. But their responses literally was like, "Oh, I've lived here for years. The water's not going to bother us." So instead, they were laughed at, believing that there was no way that water was going to come all the way up to their village. Because in the past, whenever they did have hurricanes or tropical storms, they got the rain. You know, they didn't really get the strong winds or the storm surge. They usually got the waves. So there was no real worry for it. So that's why they were being laughed at and didn't think it was going to be that big of a problem.
Sorry about that. I thought my cat was playing with its toy and it was running about with ribbon in its mouth, with a big ball of ribbon, throwing it about. Tom loves the stories, so do I. I really, really love listening to Nick. Dinghy boat. I don't know how he thought dinghy boats could save them.
What's that?
I don't know how they thought dinghy boats could save them.
Yeah, well, like in this case, though, yeah, it's unfortunate that a lot of their warnings were ignored. So they tried their absolute best, and that usually obviously has consequences. So as Mitch nears land, it weakens to a Category 4 hurricane, and the eye became less distinct, but it still packs a powerful punch. Mitch pounds the coastline. See, did it again. Okay. Mitch pounds the coastlines with devastating winds and monster waves. All forecasts have it tracking north toward Belize, the Yucatan Peninsula, and eventually into the Gulf of Mexico. But it surprises once again and heads south due to... Oh, that's repeating some of the information again. Okay. But yeah, it surprises once again and heads south. What's crazy about Hurricane Mitch, and I don't know if you know this, Lois, but as far as I know for myself, no other hurricane, typhoon, tropical cyclone, or even tropical storm or depression anywhere in the world took a track like Mitch. I mean, moving to the south and drifting just over Honduras. To date, no other storm has done that. Mitch's track defies even the most trusted computer models. By that time, as I already said, the hurricane was just north off the coast of Honduras, and all of them were suggesting and expected by the National Hurricane Center that Hurricane Mitch was going to resume its westward course and eventually move to the north. Unfortunately, they were wrong. The convection around the eye became ragged on October 27th. I'm going to have to fix all this. This is a mess. I don't know what happened here, but...
Listen, Nick, you're doing really well and everything's going fine. Don't worry about it. If it's all back to front, listen, you're doing well and we really appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate it too, so thank you. Gradual weakening occurred due to the southern half of the circulation moving across Honduras, which cut inflow from the south. The NHC had anticipated the movement to be part of a small loop in the Gulf of Honduras, although the agency noted continued uncertainty. That same day, the hurricane maintained peak winds for about 12 hours, and around that time it moved over the Swan Islands, weakening slightly due to its interaction with land. Hurricane Mitch meandered off the Honduran coast for a couple of days, battering the island country and the Swan Islands with waves of 22 feet in height.
Oh wow, look at some of the pictures that you can see of how it's coming along and how ferocious it's getting as well.
Yeah, I mean, large. I mean, it's a monster at this point. I mean, you can see even though it looks small on camera, you can tell it's huge. Though, I mean, seriously, it's a monster.
Oh God, I wouldn't even trust the Norfolk borders, Eileen, if I'm really honest, because look at the weather that England's just getting just now. There's tornado warnings in Nottingham, and there was a 2.3 earthquake, if I'm right, somewhere in England. I think it was Buxton. Thinks it was Buxton. I could be wrong. So even down there, don't get me wrong, you're not getting the weather like what America or Japan or like Indonesia gets, but it's still mental to think that you can get these things over here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'm hoping we can get to this, but believe it or not, you guys, you might find this a little crazy, but this storm, especially toward the end of its life, kind of did take a turn almost for the UK. I mean, you'll be surprised of what I got to say about that. Hopefully, if we're able to get to that part, even though this was meant to be the last part, but we'll see. We'll get
even if it has to cross over, for if we do so long and then it crosses over next week with Tesla, that's fine because we can finish off and then talk about Tesla. Because remember, we've got 2 hours, so
yeah, definitely. Oh, now this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lois. Go ahead. Oh, whoops.
Eileen says that she was in the Great Hurricane of '87 in Norwich. It was scary. Sam saying, not changing the subject, but you all have quakes like we have in SC and NC. I live in underground springs and I've been feeling them. A vibration of sorts enough to rock things hanging. Oh wow.
Sam actually brought a good point because I know all too well that the Carolinas have the earthquakes. I know one of their biggest ones, one of their most historic ones they have was the Charleston earthquake of 1886. That might be one that I may eventually want to turn into a slideshow in the future. And it's another incredible story from what I remember hearing from the 1886 earthquake.
But definitely, I feel sorry for anybody that lives in earthquake territory.
Yeah.
That was a bit back, I remember that. Sam remembers that.
So this next video, so I got another video here. Now, this one I think you guys are going to like, not only because it's another American video, this was the only video I could find of hurricane hunters going into the actual hurricane itself. So you guys are now going to see a close-up view of Hurricane Mitch. And there are title cards that show up of exactly where they are. This crew, I believe, it's not from the National Hurricane Center from Miami, but it's from another team of hurricane hunters from Mississippi. So here is a close-up view of Hurricane Mitch.
Okay, roughly about 1720 is what I'm estimating right now. The center.
Can you hear it, Lois?
Yeah, I can hear it. No, I'm intrigued at what they're doing.
Probably going to start our descent. What about another hour? But another hour out, we'll start our descent.
Yeah, this is about a 14-minute video, but I think you're going to really enjoy this. Yep, there's the eye wall.
Oh my Lord.
That's the edges of the hurricane. Excuse me.
but occasionally we will see lightning. In the daytime, you can't really see it that much. You'll get a lot of static in your headset when you do, when there is lightning around. At nighttime, it will light up the flight deck pretty good.
Has anybody on this flight flown through this hurricane already?
Oh, yeah. I was in it on Friday, used it on Saturday, right? I've flown it 3 times so far, but when I started, it was not even a tropical storm yet. Then it became it started growing quickly.
The 20-mile call still
They've got some balls in that.
One in and loaded.
Yeah, he does.
I'll have one sitting in my lap. We're over here on the table, already heated up and running. Time we get through the eye will drop. So as soon as we break into the eye, I load the next one. And then I start pre-flighting my third one. By that time, the first one will be in the water. Close it off, launch the second one. The third one will be pre-flighted. Close the second one. You should have the first one processed and be ready to dump the third. Let's see, right now, looking at the wind, we would turn right 20. Okay, they'll put you right in the middle of it. You want to do that? No, I'm just talking out loud.
It is, Sam. I love it. Just love watching it.
Yeah, it's incredible. Look at the waves.
Holy God.
Probably, Nav, I'd like you to be more aggressive on the turns. Okay? For like the 5-degree ones, I don't know how aggressive you can make them. Just to let you know. I'll do my best. Keep me updated on how it goes. Outside air temp is 7 degrees. You're not making the co-pilot throw up. You're not being aggressive enough. Good luck.
Oh wow.
They're basically inside the hurricane, but they're not even in the eye wall yet. They're getting close.
Pilots, did you get a good shot of the surface and anything interesting? Sing out. I'd say probably here at about 15 miles, you'll probably be able to see surface. Beautiful. Yeah, I found the most fascinating thing was when I was on a ride with a ROTC guy. He barfed more than I've seen anybody barf in my life. Hey, buddy, you didn't have the Jamaican bobsled team on.
And you can just see the thing.
You go on the floor, in the seat, and then in his own lap.
Oh, I'd love to hear that, Eileen.
It must have been a gallon. See, now that would make me puke. That and I'm trying to get a sign ready to release. And I was eating my lunch. My sidekick there just continued to eat.
Yeah, they kind of joke around sometimes, but they're still taking the job seriously, of course.
The Texas Chainsaw guy driving thought I saw a face hanging behind the pilot.
Wow, look at that. Now you can really see the sea.
Oh wow.
Onto the surface. You want to take a look? Yeah, that's a good 50, 55.
That's made me laugh, Sam.
Say about 52. Looks like. 49.8. Yeah, feet in height of the waves or miles per hour on the wind. Pilot just asked me if I was going to stand for this. Ain't no way. I'm going to find me a little dark hole in the back of the airplane and cover up my head. Just making sure that you hadn't really gone loony. Yeah, we got a good 65 or so at the surface. I agree with that. Oh man, that's a first. How far out are we? From the center right now, we're about 50 something miles. A little over 50 miles.
Oh wow, just look at that sea.
Yeah. That it may look quiet, but the waves are actually really rough down below.
Okay, we're gonna start entering the bigger bands. Okay. Have fun.
I would love to see a tsunami from that point of view.
It's very much like a tsunami in a way, because that would eventually become the storm surge.
Those are big enough. Can't imagine being on water with storm as such. It's crazy to get low. Definitely within a shout. Shout us out, Sam. And the problem is when you're flying against speeds and the wind, I can't imagine how terrifying it must be.
It is. You can actually see. You see the camera starting to shake now? That's because the plane is being shaken around by the winds. See, you can tell the cameraman's having difficulty standing.
That guy's just sitting there quite comfortable. He's like, this is just another day in the job.
But yeah, look at the shaking out of that. Yikes. It would have to be terrifying, though.
MD who's, driving planes in this sort of weather are people that have got boats and down below, in the water. Honestly.
They're brave guys for doing this. They're very brave.
Oh God, yeah.
I would not say that. Some people would say it's dumb that they're doing this, but at the same time, they're doing their job. They're trying to predict, with where this hurricane looks like it's going, what the wind speeds are. They're doing whatever they can to give that information back to the hurricane center.
13 miles out, land starts disappearing. That would be awesome. High flying with them. They know what they're doing.
Yeah,
definitely.
Exactly. These guys, you can tell, have had a lot of training. There's another title card that I think they're now in the eye wall of the storm. There's supposed to be another title. Yeah, here we go. Inside the eye of Hurricane Mitch, and this was when it was a Category 5. That's why the camera's so shaky. There's the eye.
This is really so fascinating. Navy pilots, Nick, are they Navy pilots?
They might be. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not entirely sure. I know they're from a division in Mississippi, but I'm not sure if they're Navy pilots. That's a good question.
You can't see nothing either.
Yeah, because I think they're back into the opposite side of the hurricane. And that's on down below. That is where you don't want to be.
Oh, hell no.
See, the other thing too is the eye wall itself. It's usually like a 10-mile radius of almost F2 tornado strength. So this is like a giant tornado in a way.
Certainly one thing I would never ever want to be caught in the middle of.
Just imagine just the way, and the winds were up to 180 miles an hour at this point. So this was at its strongest.
So it's like 30 by 20 with a small, trying to close up at 20. So it looks like it's north to south, 30 by 20 east to west. That's correct. And it looks like it's trying to form a wall at 20 miles to the south. I see. Thank you. Pilot 15 right. 15 right. Mr. Rowley, up yet? Is he up or? He's sitting here. You want him? So we're there now. Just ask him if he's ready. Yeah,
Check it out. I think they're flying circles inside the eye of the hurricane.
Oh my God, they are nuts. Especially when you can't see a thing.
Look at that. No, you can see the top. That's the eye. That's the calmest part of the storm.
Oh, wowie.
But even though the eye is always the calmest part. If you're on the ocean, that's probably the worst spot that you could be because it's calm, and since you're surrounded by both sides of the eye wall, waves on the bottom are literally going all different directions. So you would not want to be on a boat. It's the safest place to be. It's the safest place to be if you're on dry land, but in the ocean, absolutely not.
And what they always recommend with such things when dealing with such things water-based is to go to the nearest highest hill that you can.
Yeah.
Or the highest point.
I don't know if it was a suction pole, Sam, but it definitely was some of the wind. Okay, so after our first pass through the eye, the crew strapped my video camera me down for the rest of the flight. This upset me. Good thing they did, or I would have brought my camera home in pieces. Wow. Okay, so this is where, yep, the mission's over. They're heading. Oh, they're from the Air Force, Keister Air Force Base. There you go, in Biloxi,
In
Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Parking spot 13. Thank you.
What'd you think? Loved it. Loved every bit of it. Except for about
Definitely, Sam.
that knocked your socks off. That one got a couple of big
So this
knocks.
last part where they're kind of interviewed, they'll give more descriptions of what they experienced.
Scared me bad, almost bad as you.
The other celebrations were easy, just a little bump. This one, I was in the Lockheed Lounger.
It'll be adrenaline, Sam. The adrenaline, you've been up there.
The water jug and the pole that holds the gate to the urinal, so I could guide my fall back into the lounger.
Well, it cruised competed to the ceiling yesterday and busted loose the emergency water jugs in the back of it. So
We didn't lose our water jugs, but we had to pick up oxygen mask and my helmet was hanging on one of the stanchions, litter stanchions. It came down, so like we had stuff all over the back of the airplane. But it was just one good little bump there, just enough to get the media excited.
And you hit the first timers that were really concerned.
Actually, it was overall the thing wasn't bad. Just we had a couple of bad hits.
That was all we found.
Just a good storm.
That's what we found.
For a couple of guys in one of those dang things in the North Atlantic.
I'll strap more than a few cameramen down like that because of your view through your camera lens. Pretty soon you get to doing that number and you go what we call no gyro. I'll strap many a camera down and strap the cameraman down with it because of the same thing. Like this was a nice storm today. That one.
It was
pretty hard
we
bump.
had a couple of
Then you'll have others like this that you just every once in a while when you go through the wall cloud you'll get a severe bump.
It felt like the pilots didn't have control of the plane. I mean, just
No, they had control. It's just
control. You're hanging on control.
yeah.
You have control. It's a good tugboat airplane, and you got control.
But it's going to go where the wind's going. I mean, if you got look at it this way, if you jump in the Niagara River, as hard as you swim from one side to the other, you're still going to go downstream. The same thing applies when you get in one of these wind shafts and the shaft is going down. The airplane is in that, and the airplane's going to go down with it, even though the pilots have still got control inside that wind shaft. Until you get out of that shaft going down, you're going to go down with the thing. That's just the way the system works. Very much, again, like you jumping in a river. No matter how fast you swim, you're going to go downstream with the thing.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
They actually were going down.
Again, I've seen them where they vibrate so bad. And one of the drops I made going through the eye, well, not that severe one, but another one, we're vibrating so badly. I was having a tough time focusing on my computer screen and the numbers that I had to input. They have the same problems on the flight deck with the instruments up there. They vibrate so bad sometimes it's difficult to keep an eye on exactly what's going on.
a record breaker.
It was a record breaker.
I tell you, the beautiful eyewall. I mean, we got in that stadium.
USC. Yeah. Okay.
We had to circle. We circled in there after we lost all the instrumentation about 10 minutes yesterday. Right now. It was great.
Yeah. Well, I need to get
It's really, really interesting to sit here and watch hurricane hunters.
Yeah, that had been terrifying, like knowing that the plane was pretty much going down even when it was high up above the hurricane.
Oh, God, yeah.
So this next one, this is a lot shorter. This is another video of the hurricane getting closer to the coast. This is only 2.5 minutes. So this is shorter than the other. So here is more footage of the hurricane on land. This is in, I believe this is in, I think it's Mexico. Oh, okay, October 28th.
Oh, God, yeah. I wished I could chase the weather, Sam, if I'm really honest. I would love to do things like this.
Oh, this is in Mexico. Okay, so this is on the Yucatan Peninsula. Look at that, the waves. Look how monstrous they're becoming.
Oh, God, yeah. That's what I mean. People, when they see water, just casually, walk along like it's.
I look at that and I think to myself, what the hell are they doing?
it's almost like, there's a 50-foot wave behind me, but who cares? Let's go Sunday trolling.
It's unfortunate. They definitely underestimate, how powerful Mother Nature can be.
Pues hasta ahorita dicen que sí puede cambiar, pero puede ser que también no cambie. Entonces, para evitar
He was a bit like Danny DeVito.
esas sorpresas, pues mejor las echamos para arriba para resguardarlas.
They are crazy, Rita, without a shadow of a doubt. And you see many of them on YouTube standing with their phone,
Yeah.
going like this, recording, and then the waves just come up over. It's like, oh my lord.
Wow, look at that. Look at some of the damage
Oh.
already. Dana, can't read what it says. I only know some words in Spanish, so I only know what some of the stuff means.
You say they're all getting their pull string inflatable rafts. Yeah, that won't even save them, Sam.
Yeah. See, when I found these videos, they never. Oh, looks like they're showing some of the same footage, but they never really did put down the descriptions of what's going on in these videos. I mean, other than evacuating, here's more of the waves again.
Oh god, yeah. That kind of looks like Blackpool during the day. Everybody's just sitting there casually.
Oh, geez. So now with the videos passed, because we just saw that it was October 28th in this video. So as far as the update of how things have gone, get this. On October 28th, Mitch changes course direction yet again. It zigzags south, heading directly for the Bay Islands off the coast of Honduras, where the schooner Phantom is seeking refuge. I know it's been a little while since I brought up about what happened to that boat. And to make matters worse, then it stalls, the hurricane. So the conditions just kept getting worse and worse and worse, to the point where as Mitch moved into Roatan in Honduras, Phantom made one desperate attempt to flee to safety. So the conditions, like I said, just got worse and worse, to the point where, with what they call windage, which means it's basically like a sail itself, where the boat, the ship was unable to turn around anymore to where it originally left. That's how powerful the winds had become. Out of options, Captain March takes the Phantom, now heading east towards the Caribbean, directly into the Category 4 hurricane. Mitch's Ford picked up, though, and Phantom was unable to outrun the storm. His only hope is that the winds will blow the schooner out of the path of the storm to safety. Mitch, now a category. So, see, this is actually where I originally wanted to stop, as a matter of fact, a while back. So this is kind of a little bit of a recap, if you will. But right before I get to that, it turned out that, so at that point, at about 1:00 that afternoon, Captain March then told headquarters that he could no longer turn around anymore, and that he was now totally out of options. He had to go one way, and that was east. East was towards the hurricane. But just the way that the storm was coming down on him, that was the only way.
Cool?
What's that?
Sam says, I've always wanted to experience a hurricane. I love to get out in bad storms and get pictures. Got video of 2 tornadoes forming down. Then I would love to see that, Sam. Hurricanes, I would love to brave a hurricane myself, if I'm really honest. The only thing I wouldn't be braving would be a tsunami.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I wouldn't really want to be braving. But volcanoes, tornadoes, hurricanes, yeah, sure. I'd be up for that.
You could see those from a distance. Tsunamis are very unpredictable.
Oh God, aye, and the speeds that they move. That's
Yeah.
why I've got to laugh at these people who stand there with cameras filming, because I'm thinking that's just coming in to get. I have to locate it. My computer is haunted and does as it wants. That's fine, Sam.
Well, you know, the other thing too is that even in this case with the schooner Phantom, they should have just, they knew where, I mean, they saw the hurricane was heading in some direction. They should have
Thanks,
just,
Sam.
they should have just stayed in Belize to let the storm pass. But unfortunately, they made the decision of heading out towards Honduras, not realizing they were heading right into the storm. And when it was literally upon them, like I said, because the storm was bearing down on them, that was the only way that they could go east towards the storm, which was never a good idea to begin with. So, as a matter of fact, at this point, Mitch was now again. I know I already just said it, was now a Category 4 hurricane, which is now stalled above Central America off the coast of Honduras and Nicaragua. Trapped in the middle, obviously, is the schooner Phantom with Captain Guyan March and his 30-man crew on board. The captain attempts one last desperate maneuver in an effort to outrun the hurricane. So, because of how the conditions were, where the winds were really picking up, the waves were high, and the idea of actually going closer to the storm. And I'm actually going to zoom in on this just so you guys can get an idea, because I'm describing this with my hands, but the idea of actually going closer to the storm, even at an angle, the storm's coming this way, he wants to go this way, which is exactly the wrong place to be in a hurricane.
Oh, so he's basically hitting it side on.
I mean, and trust me, he must have known that he had made a bad choice. They were sailors. They were going to do the best they could. Now, ironically enough, at the same time that this was all going on, you know, while they were trying to fight while they were trying to get through this hurricane, directly above the Phantom, the Orion P3 research plane with 19 scientists on board approaches the eye of the hurricane. This is a different research plane, not the one you guys saw in the video. So, as you guys have seen the video, even today, most of these hurricane hunters, they fly directly into hurricanes because even though it's dangerous in itself, even today, that is the only way you can really see, tell, understand, and measure what's going on inside of a hurricane. And to be able to see it close up, satellites, drones, and weather balloons can't do that for them. Aircrafts are really the only way to do that. Several of the scientists from NOAA's Hurricane Research Division, much like the Air Force from Mississippi, they are bracing for a bumpy ride. As a matter of fact, according to one of the scientists, Michael Black, the Hurricane Mitch flight that the Orion P3 went into was one of the roughest flights that they went into within several years. They were bounced around, especially in the strongest winds of the eye wall, and strapped into their seatbelts. The scientists don't realize that in the mouth stream below them, the crew of the Phantom are fighting a desperate battle for survival. And Michael Black explained in an interview that they did not know that the Phantom was below them. Like if they had known, they obviously would have done a search and rescue, even though from the very start that probably would have been useless because of the horrific conditions below. I mean, you have to remember, we're talking about Category 4 or 5 winds. In this case with Mitch, winds of 180 miles per hour or more at the sea surface, waves 50 feet or higher, torrential rains, dangerous lightning, and sometimes even tornadoes. Just unimaginable conditions that very few of any ships have or could survive.
Oh God, yeah.
Now,
they would have been putting themselves at danger as well.
Absolutely.
They were trying to save them.
They would put themselves at risk. And then next thing you know, we would have to send basically people out there to go rescue the rescuers. So there would be no point. It would be suicide at that point. But unfortunately, this is where things got pretty bad. On board the Phantom, Captain March keeps in contact with the home office in Miami by satellite phone. Now, you can imagine this thing rocking back and forth, them trying to hold on. They say that on the telephone. You could hear them groaning. You could hear chairs flying around, equipment. At around 4:30 p.m. on October 27th, with Mitch having weakened but still a Category 5 intensity, March reported that Phantom was sailing near the center of the hurricane, fighting 150-mile-per-hour winds in 40 to 50-foot seas and gasped for breath. That they were just 40 miles south of Mitch's eye wall. Then the line goes dead. Radio contact was lost with Phantom shortly after that. So contact was over between them.
Oh my God.
The hurricane weakened while turning to the south and made landfall in Honduras, 83 miles east of La Ceiba on October 29th. Surprisingly, because it did lose a lot of its strength as it got closer to land, just as a minimal Category 1 hurricane with estimated winds of 80 miles per hour and associated storm surge of 12 feet. Land interaction upwelling and possibly an eye wall replacement cycle imparted weakening. Mitch continued to weaken while moving slowly westward across the country and maintained deep convection over adjacent waters. Due to weak steering currents, Hurricane Mitch moved slowly for about a week, both offshore and while moving through Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Belize. Rain bands drew moisture from the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea, producing high amounts of rainfall of over 12 inches per day beginning that day. The hurricane's slow speed, about 4.6 miles per hour, and its movement over the Cordillera Isabela mountain range caused a tremendous amount of rain to fall in Honduras and Nicaragua. In some areas, high mountain peaks contributed to high precipitation totals, and the highest amounts occurred in southern Honduras. Despite being over land, the NHC continued to predict a turn to the north, which would allow for re-strengthening. As the storm weakened and stalled over the northern coast of Honduras, the rain increased in intensity, causing flash floods and mudslides, which devastated coastal regions in the Honduran island of Guanajuato. The rains reached a rate of about 4 inches per hour, with total rainfall exceeding 30 inches along the coast and 50 inches in the interior areas. Oh, this right here, this is another. So this is where we're going to start seeing signs of the hurricane starting to weaken. This is a much shorter Oh, wait a minute. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play this one. You might have to skip that one for now. So, yeah, I'll get it fixed later.
No, you're absolutely fine. But yeah, as Island says, they don't get paid enough much to do this. Irene, how is Japan? How is Japan? I hope you guys are okay and safe.
Yes.
These poor people, they were scared and lost so much without a shadow of doubt. Sam, and I can't imagine being in a country where you have to rebuild time after time after time.
You're going to see more of that actually in this slideshow. So that, like I said, this has just only been the beginning, and also what the effects were when Mitch affected Honduras. So over the next several days, as the storm weakened and stalled near the coast, so rains increase in intensity, and Mitch dumps 35 inches of rain on Honduras and Nicaragua, with other parts of Honduras receiving accumulations of over 10 inches. Turning mountains and hillsides into rivers of mud and debris. Look at that. Here's one of the mudslides. The effects of Hurricane Mitch in Honduras were destructive and deadly, resulting in, according to the United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, the most significant flooding in Honduras in the 20th century. The rainfall collected in rivers, causing extensive river flooding across the country. The highest official total was 36.5 inches in Choluteca, which represented more than half the annual precipitation average at the same location. 18.37 inches fell in a 24-hour period on October 31st, Halloween, which was more than double the previous record set in 1985. At Universidad Nacional Autónomo de Honduras in the capital, Tegucigalpa, rainfall totaled 11.58 inches. The total of 4.74 inches on October 30th broke the record set in 1966 for the wettest day. At La Ceiba, near where the storm made landfall, Mitch produced 34.4 inches of rain, which is 30% of its annual rainfall of the total. 11.19 inches fell on October 27, which was the third highest amount there on record. There were unofficial rainfall totals in Central America as high as 75 inches, and many rain gouges in mountainous areas were washed away. The high rainfall caused many rivers in the country to overflow to an unprecedented extent this century, as described by the United Nations. The flooding caused the Choluteca River to change its course, forming an avulsion and causing an entire middle-class neighborhood to disappear. Widespread flooding near the northern coast left behind 3.3 feet of sediment, which ruined forests and shrimp ponds. Flooding also affected the Pacific coast along the Gulf of Fonseca, leaving behind debris and sediment. In the country's interior, particularly the southern portion, the high rainfall caused hundreds of landslides, many of them shallow, and about 95% of the form of debris flow, although impact from the winds was not as severe. However, 2 earth flows caused significant damage near Tegucigalpa. The greatest depth recorded was 41 feet on the Ulua River near Chinda. I guess that's how you say that. Chinda. I'm not sure if that's which one is pronounced correctly, but whilst the greatest width recorded was 1,178 feet on the Rio Lin near Arizona and Honduras, not the state of Arizona. The rainfall.
But we don't have vegetables in the local supermarket yesterday, and it's never been this bad. The roads were destroyed in northern Japan and along the Japan seaside.
Oh man, that's bad.
Seriously bad.
See, Irene actually contacted me at the time when the earthquake and the tsunami occurred over there, and as you could very well imagine, I certainly had some very personal concerns over what was happening there. So even though I didn't respond immediately, I was able to because I think I was at work that day. But I immediately responded back as soon as I saw it to check in to see if she and everyone else over there were okay. And I know they weren't as heavily affected as the opposite side of Japan was, but I saw it. I watched that on the news. It was all over the news.
It's so horrible. It's so horrible.
So in mainland Honduras, the winds were not as damaging as the rainfall, though offshore islands sustained heavy damage due to high winds. Offshore northern Honduras, it was estimated that Mitch produced, so repeating some of the same information again, produced waves as high as 44 feet. Hurricane Mitch wrought significant damage to Honduras, affecting nearly the entire population and causing damage in all 18 departments. High winds near the coast knocked down trees, particularly in mountainous areas. Severe flooding occurred in the northern region, which washed away more than 25 entire villages. The amount of flooding resulting from Mitch's rains can be partially attributed to the widespread use of slash and burn agriculture in Honduras, a method where fertile forests are eliminated to make way for agriculture. Forests normally assist in the rapid absorption of precipitation, and clear cutting for agricultural purposes left the rainwater nowhere to go but into the rivers, which were quickly overwhelmed. In San Pedro Sula in northwestern Honduras, flooding covered several neighborhoods in the international airport. Near the coast, high waves destroyed hotels and houses, while swollen rivers flooded nearby areas. Damage was heaviest in Colon and Atlantida departments. In the latter department, the Cangrejol River, if I'm saying that right, left heavy damage along its path after it flooded. In Choluteca and Valley departments in the southern portion of the country, river flooding swept away houses and affected neighborhoods. An estimated 70 to 80% of the transportation network was destroyed, including most bridges, highways, and secondary roads, amounting to $236 million in damage. In mountainous areas, floods carrying debris damaged roads and bridges. A total of 30,170 feet of bridges were damaged or destroyed, and an additional 6,709 feet of approach roads were likewise damaged. Several vehicles were washed away due to the floods. In contrast to roads, there was little railway damage. There was minor impact to the nation's airports, limited to some damage to air traffic equipment. Seaports also sustained minor damage, although many lost electronic equipment. Hurricane Mitch left widespread power outages after damaging more than 239 miles of power lines in several power plants. About 11% of Honduras' telephone lines were damaged during the storm. Oh, now here's some of the actual here's the actual footage when Hurricane Mitch was destroying Honduras. So I just want to once again warn you guys that some of this may be a little bit graphic. So, okay, maybe not. I don't know what goes on with PowerPoint sometimes. You put these
I really don't know. Do you know something? I've got to agree with Sam here. That's not good. If we quit, he's saying that's not good. If we quit pounding damn ground, always building things, always built. Mother Nature's trying to tell us something. Yeah. I can't help but agree with Sam because there's a lot of these places, and I'm going to use Japan as an example. Just look at Fukushima, the 2011 earthquake. They were told not to build on that ground because of how bad the earthquakes are, and that being the central of Earthquake Valley. Now, as usual, money talks. Yeah. So they built a nuclear factory. What happened? Earthquake. What happened? Place went up.
And almost nearly caused a severe meltdown from the power plant. So that, I was going to say, I absolutely agree with Sam too. Like the fact that we keep clearing up areas of land, which should not even be disturbed to begin with. But also not only to be disturbed, but also actually protecting other parts of where we live. If we continue cutting down, like in this case, all these forests, we're going to start seeing more of these landslides, mudslides. I mean, it's just, so she's absolutely right. You know, Mother Nature is trying to say something, and it's unfortunate that even as of today, there's still people out there, especially who just think about the money and not really think in regards to what could happen in the future.
Irene said she would rather take a hurricane instead of an earthquake. Animals getting run out of homes and into ours.
Not to mention that too.
Definitely, Sam. I mean, that it's just it's mind blowing when you look at these places that have been told, you know, don't do this, don't build on top of, and they build on top of, and then we have natural disasters that then cause man-made disaster.
Yeah, and that obviously costs many people's lives as a result.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, again, I'll have to try to show the video another time, so we'll just have to move forward. But again, landslides and flooding contaminated aqueducts in several cities, including 1,600 systems in rural areas. Many cities sustained damage to their water network, and about 70% of Honduras lost access to fresh water after the storm, although many rural areas had already been experiencing water shortages. The combined damage to transportation, communication, utilities, including power and water, which was estimated at $665 million. Communications were disrupted after power outages, and there was also fuel and water shortages. Flooding damaged or destroyed industrial areas of Honduras, which affected exports and domestic products. 6 maquiladora factories were damaged in the northern portion of the country, and one was destroyed in La Ceiba. Many businesses shut down, leaving many people unemployed who already lost their homes. Mitch also destroyed 123 health facilities nationwide and wrecked 4,835, or 23% of the nation's classrooms. As a result, most classes that would have gone until November 30th were ended about a month earlier, allowing teachers to assist in helping others. High water levels along the Choluteca River affected the capital, Tegucigalpa, reaching levels 33 feet above their banks. Mitch largely destroyed the center of the city, including many residential buildings along riverbanks. The floods damaged about 1/3 of buildings. And unfortunately, this is heartbreaking for me. Some of these buildings that were destroyed were of historical significance, including some more than 350 years old. Gone.
Oh my God.
The storm destroyed the primary water mains in Tegucigalpa and neighboring Camayajuela, if I'm saying that right, and 14 miles of water piping had to be repaired. In central Tegucigalpa, there was a large earth flow along Cerro El Berinche mountain that weighed 210 million cubic feet. This landslide, the largest generated by Mitch in the country, destroyed the Colonia Soto section and damaged portions of 2 other neighborhoods. It carried debris, trees, and rocks, forming a temporary dam along the Choluteca River laden with sewage. And that's actually the only photo I was able to find of this enormous landslide, as you can tell.
Sam says, sorry, when you go, honey.
I'll finish up the slide, and then because the landslide was slow moving, here's actually what I find incredible. Even though this was the largest landslide that was generated, because the landslide was slow moving, officials were able to evacuate before the river stopped due to the temporary dam. Another smaller landslide destroyed several houses in the Colonial El Reparto section of the capital, although it was also slow moving and the residents were able to evacuate. Other landslides destroyed over 20 houses along the rivers in the city due to erosion along riverbanks. So what were you going to say?
Sam says, I carry my gun outside at night. A lot of bears have been in Area 1 with cubs.
Oh, I believe it.
Irene says, Tokyo is the middle of Earthquake Alley and we have gas rather than electricity stoves because of this. You need trees to help soak up the water, and we live on top of the hill, top of the high hill, so that your house don't get flooded. That's the best place to be, Irene, is at the top of the hill, especially a high hill.
See, the way how I would see, and it's not surprising because obviously I knew that all too well, like in the case of Tokyo being in the middle of Earthquake Alley. Of course, if you look at, Japan and some of the other countries, and Irene probably already knows this, but they're in a section of the planet where they call it the Ring of Fire, which is where they have the most active volcanoes and earthquakes. And that, we lost her.
There
you are.
Matt. There's Matt. There's my internet starting to play up. I lost my train of thought.
No, you were talking about
the Ring of Fire. All I can hear is Johnny Cash in my head.
That's what I was thinking. But it actually is referred to as the Ring of Fire, though, because that's where most volcanoes and earthquakes are known to affect certain areas of the planet. I think you muted your mic.
I'm just dying. It's fine.
You're right there.
I'm choking dying, bro. It's all right. I'm getting the eyes. First night back, and I'm getting a lecture.
Yes, Sam, Sam just wrote this. Yes, you're right, Sam. There was that eruption in Iceland that just recently occurred. You heard about that, right?
Yeah, I did. It's all right, guys. I'm not crying. It's just because I've been coughing.
Yeah. Yeah, that eruption in Iceland, it created, just like it did back in 2010, where it created a lot of the air flights to shut down. They couldn't fly because of the ash from the volcano.
Aye. But we've done well for our first show. We've nearly been 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm just going to basically end this for one final slide. This is not information, but this next slide, I just realized here are some photographs of the destruction from Hurricane Mitch. So this will, I know you saw a few of them, but this will give you a brief idea of how bad it was in Honduras.
Oh my God.
Look at that. All these areas are just, I mean, there are some buildings that are still standing, but mostly everything else is just wiped out.
Oh God. And it's the thought of having to start to rebuild.
Yeah, it was not easy for them to rebuild after this. Even, believe it or not, I'll say this now ahead of time, but even today, although much of it has been rebuilt, the Honduras as well as other countries, they're still in some way, shape, or form still somewhat affected from that hurricane. It really destroyed a lot of their agriculture.
I mean, that's the hardest thing to come back off of, is when something, read the signs, as Sam says, read the signs.
Absolutely.
And I just think that climate is getting a lot worse rather than a lot better.
Yeah, when you decide to basically, like, let's say in this case, build buildings in areas that would make them potentially vulnerable or could make it potentially dangerous for everyone else that lives in a safer area. I mean, you definitely have to read the signs and take it seriously. Because look at this is you're going to have such disasters like this. I mean, and the loss of many other buildings. So,
without a shadow of doubt, unbelievable. The worst sort of people are the humanity.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to say that, but that's pretty much true.
The worst is humanity. We destroy a lot of it's terrible.
Look at that. And see, that's one of the landslides here, right here on the corner that just goes right through another part of Honduras. I think there's okay, so I think this might be the last one about the damage from Honduras, so we'll probably leave it from here after this. Across Honduras, agriculture sustained serious damage, with initial estimates of 70% of crops destroyed. Flooding affected 29% of the country's arable land, much of covered for an extended period of time. This washed away large areas of topsoil, which would take a long period of time to recover. There it goes again. But anyways, about 85% of the banana crop was lost, along with the loss of 60% of melons, 60% of sugarcane, and 58% of corn. About 1/3 of the corn crop had already been harvested. About 50,000 bovine were killed, as were 60% of the fowl population. Crop and agricultural damage totaled about $1 billion, which would take the country years to recover. Poor road conditions following the storm prevented crops from being dried, which caused further damage. Most of the damage was ruined crops, and cash crop exports were cut by 9.4% in 1999, largely due to the storm. Then President of Honduras, Carlos Roberto Flores, estimated that Mitch set back 50 years of economic development. Honduras' social fund for housing estimated that 35,000 houses nationwide were destroyed, with another 50,000 damaged, many of which were poorly built or in flood-prone areas. This left up to 1.5 million people homeless, about 20% of the total population, and was the highest number of victims from any natural disaster in Honduras' history. Over 30% of the populations of Choluteca, Colón, and Cortés departments were left homeless. Housing costs were estimated at $344 million, including $221 million in housing damage. The rest included the costs for shelters, removal of debris, and loss of rents. Oh, I'm sorry. I think this is actually one of the last two. My mistake. I thought it was.
No, you're absolutely fine.
Okay. Well, this actually goes back to those firefighters I was telling you. Firefighters Tina and Riley Wooten ride out the storm in the capital city of Tegucigalpa. They made an agonizing decision to leave their 10-year-old son in the countryside with their maid. When Tina and Riley got the call and responded to the fire station, Riley had no idea that she wouldn't see their son for that long. As the rain subsides, Tina and Riley are called to perform search and rescue operations in the flooded city. They had a good plan, but of course it went nowhere once the floods came. They continued looking for people, but it got to the point, tragically, that after 12 days, they were not finding any survivors. They dig through the mud in search of any sign of life, but day after day, they find only bodies.
Oh my God.
They say when you are just going through these searches and you're just pulling bodies after bodies after bodies after bodies after bodies of, babies, children, men, elderly grandparents, as well as like animals, you just get so used to it to a point where you just don't really want to care anymore, but you can't. You can't, because these are people and animals. And what Tina had said at one point was the hardest part for Riley was when they started pulling bodies of babies and kids out. He said that, you look at these kids and for a split second, he would just see his son's face. It was very, very hard for him. As far as the damage, this is the final one for now. Overall, in Honduras alone, mudslides and flooding caused by Hurricane Mitch claimed 6,500 to 7,000 lives, some reported in each department, with 11,000 missing in the months after the storm. There were 8,000 people listed as missing about 10 days after Mitch struck, although problems with record keeping made it difficult to determine the exact total. Choluteca Department in the southern portion of the country had the most deaths, with 1,200 fatalities. Francisco Morazan Department, which includes Tegucigalpa, had about 1,000 deaths, and Zorro Department had 911 fatalities. There were deaths in every department, however. Many of the dead were buried in mass graves or were cremated. The storm injured 12,272 people nationwide, mostly in Choluteca and Cortez Department. Damage was estimated at $3.8 billion, of which $2,005 billion was from direct damages, and the remainder of $1.8 billion from indirect costs. The overall impact represented about 70% of Honduras' annual gross domestic product. So, okay, so I think we're probably going to stop here. I just want to see, because we have gone a little bit further out, but I think we're going to leave it right here, though, for the next time.
Yeah, definitely. We will do, what we'll do is next week we will talk about Tesla, but we'll just finish off this wee bit in next presentation. Obviously, it was just due to internet connection tonight. And then me and Nick talking shite for half an hour.
And I don't like doing this, but that's actually the reason why I was trying to go really fast to try to get as much as I could. So
don't worry. I just apologise to the next show because we're 5 minutes into their slow.
Yeah, we got to end this. So,
but everybody take care and have a good week, and we will see you tomorrow in Frighteners for the recap of 2023, the highs, the lows, and the bigs.
And you'll be seeing me later tonight for Supernatural talk. So, I think it's just gonna be an open mic. Oh, thank you, Sam. So
you're welcome, Sam.
if you want to tune into Supernatural Talk, you can see me later tonight, but always appreciate it, though. Thank you.
See you later, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.